Hi guys, welcome to the Bronze to Masters All-In tutorial video series. This was inspired by Filter StarCraft's Bronze to Masters series, where he takes a more macro mechanical approach to the game. I'm going to take a different path and teach you how to go without all these extra command centers and extra workers and all these complicated mechanics, and show you how to beat really good players without doing all that. I think it's a better way to learn because once you learn how to control one base and control all of your units and win, it's a lot easier to pick up things like the second base and all the other nuances of the game once you've learned all of these things. I'm going to put Filter StarCraft series in the description of this video because I still think that some people will enjoy learning that way and it'll be easier for them. But for now we're going to focus on easing down scrubs and making people cry in the forums. In order to start, I'm going to have to bring you guys into the game menu. You just have to press F10 here, and we're going to make sure all your options are set up optimally. We're going to start by going to the Controls tab on the left here, and we're going to go right over to the mouse scroll speed. You're going to want to increase this from the default. Mine's currently at 75. You're going to want it between 60 and 80 somewhere. This is going to make you feel a lot quicker in the game. It's going to be hard to get used to at first. If that's the case, I suggest taking it a couple points a day. Every couple days, just come in here, raise it a little bit, get used to the faster speed. It's going to do you huge favors being able to move around the map much quicker than you used to be able to. Next, we're going to go down into the gameplay tab. We're going to go and make sure that the show game timer option is checked. This enables our little clock down here that will tell us the all-important time of the game. A lot of our later all-ins are going to revolve around this timer here, and we're going to abuse this. So make sure that it's turned on over here. Next, you're also going to want to make sure you're saving all your replays. You want to do this because it's not always obvious what your opponent is doing from inside the game because of the fog of war and playing the game, it's distracting. You're going to want to save all your replays and catalog them all so you're able to figure out what your opponents did to counter and how you can move around that and counter them instead and make these all-ins work. Everything that I show you here in this series works. The bronze builds work. Everything works. You're just going to need to work on making them smoother builds in order to advance to the next level. You're going to have to trust me. You might be tempted to try something else, and that's great if you want to go off on your own tangent and learn, but take this step by step. Save all your replays, learn what your opponents are doing so we can learn how to counter that with the build that we're using. You'll find that a lot of the later builds, like the diamond stuff and everything, is actually really flexible and allows you to get around and counter your opponents in ways that won't be so easy in these first starting videos. But it doesn't matter because all your opponents are just scrubbies anyway. They're just going to get absolutely obliterated by these SCV trains. Next, we're going to make sure our mature language filter is off if it isn't already. You're going to need this off to read what your opponents are saying to you. Quite often it'll just show up as a bunch of stars if your mature language filter is on, and you won't be able to read all the bullshit they're sending your way. A lot of people get really angry when they get easied out of the game really quickly in under 10 minutes. And it's demoralizing. Like you've probably been cheesed or all in before, and you just get wrecked and the game doesn't feel fun to you. Well, now you're going to do that to other people, and you're going to have to collect their tears. Once the game is all set up, I'm just going to work away a couple of the mechanical problems that a lot of lower level players have before we get into a real game and a real build. The biggest thing here is hotkeys. You're going to want to use your keys on the keyboard to do everything in the game. You don't want to be clicking on any of the buttons in the bottom right. We're going to try and get out of that habit. If you have it, it's the thing in the game that slows you down the most. Anything that is a barrier between the thoughts in your head and executing them in the game has to be broken down. All those walls have to be shattered. And in order to do that, we have to start with hotkeys. Everything has a hotkey, and it is something I forgot to go over earlier. You can change another setting in the settings here so that the letter is displayed, and I'm just going to quickly go back into that because I forgot to do that. You're going to want to make sure that's on so that you can see the hotkeys if you're not used to it already. And I believe that's over here somewhere. Display command hotkey text. Yeah, that's down here. I forgot to show you that earlier. So make sure that's on, and make sure you're using your keys to make everything. SCVs are S, Marines are A, etc. When you're building stuff with workers, you want to go B for barracks, B, S for supply depots. Oh, we won't be using BC. You won't be building any command centers. Next is the actual control groups. These are another really important part of speeding you up. You're going to want to set all of your different buildings, the buildings that you use, your production facilities and your command center, to different numbers down here. Now I've got a lot of junk hotkeyed, and we're going to go over that in the later videos. That's not really important right now. You don't need it in bronze. We're just going to hotkey our command center and our barracks. I usually choose number 5 for my command center. That's something I got used to. You could either copy me or you can pick your own number. It doesn't matter. Just try not to pick anything after 6, because unless you have fat hands, it's not going to work out very well for you. So you're going to set that to number 5, and you do that by holding down the control key and then 5. That way, every time you press 5 on your keyboard, your command center is going to be selected here. It's going to speed you up a lot. That means you don't need to click around, and it also means you can control your command center without looking at it. And I'm going to go over that a little bit later in a second here. Next, you're going to want to set your barracks to another hotkey. So your command center is on 5. I set them to 2. Some people pick whatever number they want. It doesn't matter as long as they're all hotkeyed to 2. So you want to select your barracks, and you want to press Control and then 2 to select them, to force them into that control group. If you have multiple barracks and you're wanting to add them to your control group, you can double click on your barracks and that will select all of the barracks, as you can see here, all the barracks that you have, or you can hold down the control button, click your barracks, and that will have the same effect as double clicking on it. It'll collect all of your barracks on the screen here into your selection, and then you can easily hotkey it by pressing Control and then 2. If you only have one building selected and you want to pick specifically which other buildings you want to add to your hotkey control group there, you can hold down the Shift button and click the other barracks. That has the same effect as double clicking on the barracks. They're both in the selection window down here. This will more come into play later when you're adding different buildings to the same hotkey. Like if I wanted to add the supply depot, which doesn't do anything, to that hotkey, I would shift click it and it would add it to the selection box down here. We're not going to do that now. We're just working with barracks. It's going to be really clean and simple. All you have to do is set your barracks to 2, command center to 5, and we're good to go. The next major mechanic here we're going to use to speed you up is the rally points. You can see the command center rally point here, which is that orange fancy line heading towards the minerals. You're going to want to set that to the minerals at the very beginning of the game by right-clicking. All rally points can be set by right-clicking as Terran, and the command center is kind of special. It gets an orange one. All these other ones are white. You can see that by selecting the barracks here. I can see where those rally points are doing. And what these do is they automatically send all the units made by whatever facility it is to the point, to the rally point. These are set to minerals. All the workers are automatically mined. These barracks rally points are all set to this point outside the ramp. They can also be thrown onto a unit like you see here. That way, all of your reinforcements that come out of these barracks won't sit at the barracks. They won't sit at this point in front of your ramp. They'll follow the Marine. They're going to go straight to your Marine. This allows you to focus on something else while your reinforcements are streaming into whichever location you want. You can set your rally points even from the mini-map. So if you're looking over here and you're fighting over here, if you press 2 to select your barracks, you can right-click anywhere on the mini-map to set where you want your army to head. It's a really powerful tool and allows you to free up your concentration. As well, if you're fighting over here, you can abuse your hotkeys. You can press 2 to select your barracks, and you can produce Marines by pressing A after you press 2 while your camera is looking somewhere else. It's a really powerful feature, and that's the key thing that will let you get out of bronze. You can also do that with your workers. constant worker production is really important in most 1 base all-ins. And in this case it's not. I'm going to go over the build later. But you'll be able to press 5 and S to make workers no matter what you're doing. A big thing to practice is no matter where your screen is at any given time, no matter what you're focused on, keep rotating through your hotkeys. Like you can see how I have my army hotkeyed to 1, my barracks hotkeyed to 2, my command center hotkeyed to 5, and you can cycle through these, selecting all your different things really quickly and building workers really fast. Then going over to your barracks, building marines, and then popping back to your army and controlling them. That's how high-level players are able to do so much at once, by abusing their keys. For somebody new coming into the game, it's really hard to master, but it will pay off immensely as time goes on. You won't spend very much time in the bottom leagues when you master hotkeys. If you take anything from this series, it's use hotkeys. They are the key to success. You can't play without them. One final little neat trick is the shift moving. This is where you queue commands, which means you can tell something to do more than one thing at once. For example, I'm just going to scroll the replay back so that you can see it in action. You'll be able to see it when I build these supply depots here. I'll just wait till they start. So what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be selecting my worker. I'm going to be using the B key to go into the building menu, and I'll show you in just a second. I'm selecting one of my workers here. I selected this one, I hit the B key, I didn't click it, and then I pressed S to place the supply depot on my screen here. But you can also see this little curvy green line. And what I did here is I told the worker, by holding Shift after he's started building the supply depot and right-clicking on the minerals, I told him to go back to work after he's done the depot. See, he did that really quickly. A lot of low-level players have their little Mexican workers sitting down here doing nothing. It's extremely terrible because you have all these lazy guys sitting here. They're just hogging up supply. They aren't giving you any money. They're like welfare recipients. They're living off you. You need to make them work. So make sure you're shift queuing all of your workers that are building structures back to their minerals. It'll give you a huge mineral boost if you weren't doing that already, and it'll allow you to overpower your shitty bronze opponents. This is especially important with Terran. I believe that covers everything for the introduction video here. That's all I wanted to go over, and next we're going to be looking at games and micro. So we're going to be looking at stutter step and the build here in this game in the next video, and I'll see you guys there.